Hey everyone, it's Mark Sargent, and I'd like to introduce you to a flat earth enemy, Joe Rogan. Some of you already know that he doesn't like flat earth because he's talked about it in upwards of, I think, at least 10 shows, and the one I'm going to introduce to you now is the 11th, and I'm not going to do a compilation of all the other clips he's done. Some have been angrier than others, and he's been, violently against it since day one, and it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, he's interviewed astronauts and Neil deGrasse Tyson, and which means he's absolutely in the NASA camp. What was interesting this time is that this show, he actually opened with it. That he literally opened the show with 10 minutes of flat earth, and he's not going away. So if anyone wants to write him or tweet him or put whatever you want on Facebook, he's going to be against this thing to the bitter end, and he has to be. And the reason why I don't like him, I'm not going to go so far as to say that I hate him, although I really don't like him, is because, remember, he is for those who don't remember, he is a cautionary tale in the conspiracy world. He is the road sign on the path that says, be careful, this could happen to you. He was completely against the Apollo program. He was completely against the Americans going to the moon, meaning he did not believe it happened, and he argued against it, and he was winning because of his conviction. And then he dropped off the map for a while, and then when he came back, he was absolutely for it. The Americans absolutely went to the moon. And he wouldn't say why. He still, to this day, and that's why he'll never invite me on his show or any other legitimate flat earther, because that question will be the first question. It's like, what happened to you? Why were you against NASA, and now why are you for it? He won't say. And we all know the answer. It's because, he took the briefcase full of the prizes, which was, in this case, he got his own show on the Sci-Fi Network for at least one season, and he got some other opportunities. Maybe they threatened him, maybe they didn't. I don't care. The point was he should have stuck to his beliefs, and he didn't. And I know it's easy for me to say because I don't have a wife and I don't have kids, but he should have. And instead, he's condemning it. He's condemning the movement, and he's doing everything he can to try to slow this thing down. So anyway, with that, enjoy the clip, and you'll know what I mean real quick. So anyway, see you later, guys.
3, 2, 1. Boom, Michael Shermer's here, ladies and gentlemen, again, and we've been talking about silly people for the past 15 minutes.
Yes.
we had to get warmed up.
The list is endless.
We had to get warmed up with body doubles,
conspiracies,
with Hillary Clinton,
earthers.
flat earthers. Forests aren't real. Is that what they're saying, Jamie? The flat earthers? We're going to talk about the flat earthers for one reason. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I think there's a lot of folks out there that are super gullible, and I think they're being trolled. I think they're being trolled by people who put together these. It's one of two options. Either they're being trolled by people who put together these elaborate arguments for something that they don't believe because they're just trying to make money off of YouTube views, which is entirely possible.
Yep.
And this needs to be thought of. I mean, it really needs to be considered because YouTube videos can be extremely lucrative. If you can get a YouTube video with millions of hits, and a lot of these videos on all sorts of different conspiracies and all sorts of different crazy things can generate that kind of volume. Mm-hmm. You're making real money.
Pennies on the dollar, but if it's millions,
yes.
you can,
It starts becoming real money, and if you do a bunch of them and you do them on a regular basis, it becomes a gig. It becomes like what they do. They create these silly videos. But people who just don't have the time or the inclination to actually read scientific papers and articles and journals and all these different things that explain how we've known for a long time that the Earth is round.
Right. Yeah, it's a myth that Columbus proved that the Earth is not flat, that it's round. The ancients knew, the Greeks knew, Columbus knew, everyone knew then that it was round.
The Sumerians knew.
Absolutely.
They're depictions on clay.
Right.
When they drew it in clay, they drew all the planets as circles.
Right.
They knew.
Right. I mean, there's some obvious simple ones anybody could do. If you see an eclipse, like a lunar eclipse, you can see the Earth's shadow on the moon. It's round. If you're high enough and the ships are sailing out, you can see the mast is the last thing you would see as the hull drops over the horizon first slowly. There's things like that we know the Earth is round. You travel around, you come back to where you started. Now their explanation, the flat earthers, is that it's round like a pizza, but a round flat pizza, and all the continents are on the one flat face side up. and that the satellites are up there going around. It's like, yeah, but the satellite photos don't show all the continents in one picture because some of them are on the other side of the globe, so that refutes that.
Well, not only that, but they think that satellites are actually in planes. They're in planes in low Earth orbit that are just circling around. There's no actual satellites. They don't even believe in satellites.
Yeah, so back to your original comment, some of these recent ones are so crazy that you can't help but think, okay, they don't believe it. They're just yanking our chain for maybe financial reasons. But that does get to the question I always get, which is, do these people really believe it? The cult leaders, the people that make extraordinary claims, are they just making this stuff up? You know, people make shit up all the time. It's called fiction fantasy. Or do they really believe it? Are they, true believers? And, it's hard to tell. It's hard to get inside people's heads. The old flat earthers in the 19th century, I think they really did believe it. There wasn't much money to be made, on those kinds of things. I mentioned the Alfred Russel Wallace, who was the co-discoverer of natural selection with Darwin. I wrote my dissertation on him and wrote a biography of him. And he was quite the colorful character who was so open-minded to new ideas that he was also gullible. So open-minded enough to see this radical new theory of the evolution of life by natural selection. That's good. Pioneered other fields like biogeography and so on. But he also was really into spiritualism and phrenology, seances, channeling, all that stuff. And but then he encountered an ad in one of the natural history magazines for this 500-pound bet if anybody could prove the Earth is round. So he devised a test, and he went down to the Bedford Canal, which is a long strait, it's like 10 kilometers long. You can see the whole distance. And if you put these little sticks in the ground with markers on them, and you get a little telescope like a surveyor's scope, and you line it up, you can see that it bends. So at each point, the stick is 3 meters above the ground at each point, and but you can see that it's dropped down in the last one, so it's bent. So he won the bet. But he didn't get paid, of course, because these people are cranks. And so he had to take him to court. This ended up costing him about 15 years of his career, just wasting time, writing letters and getting court dates and suing this guy and, whatever.
Just to try to win the bet?
Yeah, just try to win the bet. So, and of course, what happens, you get caught up emotionally, like, I'm not going to let this bastard get away with this. He should have just cut his losses and left. But anyway. And I found these letters that this guy wrote to the the Royal Geographical Society about Alfred Russel Wallace. You have one member of your society that should be, he's a quack and a crank, and and he wrote letters to Wallace's wife. You better not sleep in your bed at night quietly because I'm coming to get you guys. And it's like like death threats. Yeah. So it's always questionable to deal with cranks because some of them are a little mentally deranged.
Sure, and they can attach themselves to someone like Wallace or Darwin or anybody else. If you can somehow or another connect yourself to them in some sort of an argument, it's kind of legitimizes you, at least in a way, because that person's giving you attention, that person's engaging you, and it elevates your standing. And then whenever two people are arguing, a certain amount of people are going to choose sides. They're just going to, even if what you're saying doesn't make any sense, there's going to be a gang of people that go, I like what he's saying, and they're going to join in. And people they love to be on a team. They want to be on Team Wallace or Team Crank.
Right.
That's a natural part of
Well, and that's
people.
also why people, like a lot of the creationists, want to debate Dawkins.